Welcome to the next episode of the Elevation Podcast. Today, my guest is Filipino-American filmmaker, Navy vet serving on the USS Wasp, editor, BTS, does everything on film, writer, director, you name it, he's done it. S. Roy Saringo, but I know you as Roy.
Everybody knows me as Roy.
But what's the S. Roy Saringo?
The S is for the people that I went to school with, because I did not know growing up in the public school system that I could ask my teachers to call me by my middle name, which is what everybody else calls me outside of school. So Stanley,
They didn't give you the option as a kid?
I mean, they didn't really ask, because it technically is my first name. So like, as a teacher, why would you think I would go by any other name?
You're too shy to be like, I go by Roy.
Yeah, and I was, starting from elementary school. It was just Stanley, which is like, I'm not embarrassed by it. It sounds like a nerdy first name, but I'm actually not embarrassed of it. It's just I didn't know to ask for them to call me by what everybody else calls. So now anybody in school would know me as Stanley or Stan, and it was hard to get people to friend me from school on Facebook or social media when they're like, who is Roy? So I decided to put the S in my official film credits so that anybody would see it, go, okay, so S is his first name, Roy is his middle name. What's the S stand for? And that can leeway into, well, S is actually my first name, Stanley.
Yeah, and I've the same, I've done my Instagram now is Jonathan C. Mitchell. That's an important thing for me in my lineage. My dad has the same initials, JCM. His dad had the same initials, JCM.
Yeah.
His dad had the same initials. So there was always that firstborn son. And we actually have a ring that's over 100 years old that has those initials on it that gets passed down. Yeah. And I'm breaking that lineage because I don't have a boy. So I'll give it to my daughter.
And I think for your name, especially, there's probably hundreds of Jonathan Mitchells. So the C is the...
There's not hundreds of Stanley Roy Saringos out there?
No.
No?
Only one.
Thought that was a very common name.
Very unique.
Very neat. So I usually start these podcasts with just a quick, how we met. Mm-hmm. And I believe that was through Josiah Kent podcast, right?
Yeah.
So, and here we are full circle back in a podcast. But this time, you get to be on the mic instead of behind the camera.
Yeah, that's true. I was roommates with this guy named Josiah Kent, who was very much into specialty coffee. Now,
very much.
We were talking about this in the car on the way here. Most people think specialty coffee is really good coffee. So there's coffee and there's really good coffee. And so my understanding before was that specialty coffee was really, really, really good coffee. But I didn't understand the difference between the intricate details of, the farming, the roasting, and just the preparation, until I had two roommates, Josiah and Riley, and both of them were into specialty coffee. Now, they were the ones that were, they had the Hario.
The V60s.
The V60s. They even had Chemex, and I was like, these guys are super weird. Yeah, nerds, because they were we had the Commandante, hand grinder, and I was like, oh my goodness, that's the worst sound ever.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, every night they repair, and so it wasn't until the pandemic and the lockdown where we couldn't go to Publix, and I couldn't get my K-Cups because I'm a K-Cup guy.
Oh.
I'm a caffeine guy.
Yes.
So I just needed caffeine, and if it tastes decent, I'll drink it. Mm-hmm. But we couldn't go to the store. I couldn't get my K-Cup, and I ran out, and I was like,
so you're like this. You're like, where's my
yeah, I was like, you know what? Just let me. How do you do this? How do you make this? And they showed me, and they talked about what specialty coffee was. They talked about first wave, second wave, third wave. I really got to understand that. But one of the things that Josiah said was, it's the thing about specialty coffee is it's almost like if you lived your life believing the world is flat and somehow someone gave you information that changed your whole world, and you finally saw the world as a globe.
The world's not flat. I'm just kidding.
Florida is.
Yeah, right. For
Florida's too flat. So based off of what he said, I was like, you know what, you should consider doing a podcast. You should consider me as a producer of that podcast. And then a few months later, we started doing the podcast because he was like, oh yeah, that's a brilliant idea. And we initially did it around when the pandemic was kind of like easing off. It was called Ground to Earth. I believe you could still find it.
It's still available, yeah.
Yeah, you can. It's very informative.
You can find an episode of me on there.
Find an episode of him. And Elevation was one of the spots that we actually, did the video and the audio for, right in the middle of the cafe in Northdale.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was a lot of fun, man.
Like, I think I met you before, but
That was
where.
That's what I say. There's people that I've met, and then there's the meeting spot. The time you actually met them, and you was the full the icon of who are you? Oh, this is what you do. You're an actual.
Yeah.
You're a behind the camera guy. You are a writer, a director. You get to actually. You're the thinker.
Yeah.
And you get to make those things come to life.
Yeah. The podcast is when we transitioned from acquaintances to actual friendship.
Yes, exactly, 100%.
Yeah.
And it all happened because of coffee, and that's where
because of coffee
this podcast comes in, to talk to creatives like yourself that I've met, that have opened me up to meet people like you because of this world of coffee. Like, other than that, I probably would have passed you in the Target aisle or whatever it is and just been like, oh, cool, nice hat, you know what I mean, or whatever. Yeah. But now because of coffee, we get to meet, we get to hang out. You've shot promo stuff for us before. I get to hear cool stories, which we'll talk about in a minute, of stuff that you're working on and everything. But we'll start from the beginning. I normally start with the field you're in right now and why that, but I think it goes even further back than that. But let's talk about the hat, actually. I think a little bit. Talk about your time in the Navy.
Yeah, so the hat has several meanings. One, it does say the USS Wasp, because that's the ship that I was stationed on. Mm-hmm. This is actually not my official Navy ball cap. This is not what they gave me.
Do you still have it?
I don't, but I can get it online.
Okay.
The reason I got this one was, one, at that time when I just wanted a hat, my official ball cap was unavailable online. It was you had to know somebody, or you had to be stationed on the ship to get it. But that changed. So they changed logos after I left. So my ball cap is a rare vintage.
So you had a different to find it.
Yeah, it had a different. So this one I got from Amazon, and I just grabbed it. But it also reminded me of Martin DeBerge. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Marty DeBerge or something from Spinal Tap.
Oh, okay.
So it was Rob Reiner's character in This Is Spinal Tap. He had one, I believe it was USS Coral Sea. I think they changed the name because I don't know if he was allowed to wear Coral Sea. So it was Doral Sea or Oral Sea or something like that. Anyways, Rob Reiner is one of my favorite film directors. And it was an homage to him, but it was also an homage to the kind of filmmaker I wanted to be. Because a lot of filmmakers are genre specific. They're genre filmmakers, like Tarantino's crime, Scorsese's crime. There's variants of that now, but he's known for the gangster movies. Rob Reiner was, he did When Harry Met Sally. He did A Few Good Men. Did he do Contact?
I don't know. I'm not sure. It's a good question. I can pull it up real quick.
No, I don't think it was him. I think it was the guy who did Back to the Future.
Rob Reiner's.
But Rob Reiner did, A Few Good Men. What else did he do? The Bucket List. So he's all over the place as far as genre goes.
Yes.
And
he was involved with Spinal Tap too. I didn't know that.
He did.
That was the last thing he did then.
Yeah, Spinal Tap too.
Oh, wow.
He was also an actor. He was on New Girl.
Oh my gosh, that's right. He was.
He was Jessica Day's dad. And then he was also Jordan Belfort's dad in...
Directed Misery. Oh my gosh.
He directed Misery.
Forgot about that. That's one of my family's. Me, my wife, and my daughter. We love that.
He
movie.
was Jordan
Bride.
Jordan Belfort's dad in Wolf of Wall Street.
Stand By Me, The Sure Thing. Like, oh my gosh. 80s.
Yeah, so he's all over the place.
Yeah, it's all over the place, but classic 80s movies too.
Yeah, so that's the kind of filmmaker and type of stories that I want to tell. It's not genre specific, but more now because like a lot of people have asked me like, what kind of movies do you like to make? Meaning like what genre? You know, do you like making horror movies? Do you like making comedies? I'm like, I want to make the movies that made me fall in love with movies.
Yeah.
And they're not one specific, genre. One's like Top Gun and the other one's Goonies and the other's E.T. It's like basically 80s, 90s kids movies that we grew up on. But it's the...
They had heart, but they all had a different genre.
Yeah, pretty much.
I love that. So then why film? Like, what got you into film? Like, what was the avenue where you just kind of were like, this is what I'm going to do for a living?
Okay, so growing up, I was raised in the church. So my parents were church planners for Filipino churches, and that's when that's why we emigrated to the States, right, to plant Filipino churches in Filipino communities. But this is kind of backtracking a little bit more.
Start from the beginning. Let's go.
I was not planned. Well, I was planned, but like it wasn't like I had 4 other sisters older than me, and like there's 7 years between me and my youngest sister.
Gotcha. Okay.
By
You were the blessing baby.
Yes. Well, my dad wanted to stop after the youngest girl. But everybody was like, we all know you want a boy. And so just try one more time. And my parents were already in their 40s. So they were like, ugh. By the time I was born, my 2 older sisters were already dating. One was about to get married and the other one was in a serious relationship. I could have been one of their kids.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Because they were like,
you would be the uncle that's
early
almost the
20s.
same age as their kid.
Yeah. And then I was the only one in my family that actually grew up in the United States public school system.
The rest of them grew up in the Philippines?
Yeah. So I was 1, the youngest, and 2, the most American. So I didn't have good, we had a great relationship with my parents. It was a loving family, but they didn't know how to speak to like an American kid.
Right.
That there was a generational gap, but also a cultural gap. So most of the things that they should have said no to, as far as like watching Nightmare on Elm Street, watching R-rated movies, they didn't know how to communicate not to do it.
Gotcha. So you did it.
So I did it. So I watched all the Nightmare on Elm Streets, all the Friday the 13th, all the Halloweens, like everything that I wasn't supposed to do. Movie-wise, I was able to watch.
Dude, Nightmare on Elm Street wrecked me as a kid when I watched it. That's the same thing. Like, I grew up watching those things, like the hand coming out of the bed and pulling it. I thought that was going to happen to me. I was out.
Yeah. And then one of my sisters, worked at a video rental spot. So she would always bring me back, like, Transformers, G.I. Joe, the movies, Transformers, the movie, and all these, I remember she had posters of Teen Wolf, and 16 Candles and, Pretty in Pink. So like she was bringing all these videos and I would just watch. And then
I feel like I'm listening to an episode of the Goldbergs right now. Like this
pretty
is like
much
an 80s like homage,
pretty much.
brother sister thing.
And it was my uncles and my dad felt like they were in competition for who had the most movies recorded on VHS. Because there was like a library of like this,
And they're big, they're clunky, so you just got this big VHS collection in the house.
And they had Betamax.
Oh my gosh.
So like I was always surrounded by movies. And one of the movies that really changed the way I thought, because like I had this influence of blockbuster movies, right? I love Steven Spielberg. I love George Lucas. But it wasn't until I saw Pulp Fiction that like just things changed, because I didn't know you can break the rules. And like I love the idea of breaking the rules. And so when Pulp Fiction came, it was just like I knew the love became more of a calling.
That's great.
Like it wasn't just like
It wasn't just a fandom. It wasn't
No,
just
no,
like
no.
a passing by thing. You're like, this is I have the itch.
Yeah, like this is what I have to do.
Yeah.
And then everything else pretty much aligned because I was a straight F student. And I've told you this before. Straight F student, but like my only A grade was video productions.
And I think that speaks to your heart where you're at. Doesn't mean I think it was Dr. Seuss always said the thing like, if you teach a fish to climb a tree, it's gonna believe it's stupid, right?
Yeah.
You found your avenue where you're like, you know what? These other things, I don't even care about them anymore. I don't care if I get an F. I'm focusing on this one thing because you already found your niche.
Yeah. What's funny is, and this is like my gripe with the public school like system in general,
I got a lot of them.
because like from a 30-foot view looking at me, you'd go, this kid is dumb.
You're right. Now let's go back to the quote I was saying. I was that student.
Yeah. Yeah. But me in film school, and I went to Full Sail University, I had straight A's. Mm-hmm. Because it was something I was passionate about.
Exactly.
And so like that's the thing. If the grade systems were more lenient on how this kid wants to learn.
Yes. Which is different in other systems of schooling, but in our system it is I don't get me wrong, I think we need to be learned discipline to do things we don't like. Like I need to learn English even if I'm not good at it. I need to learn math if I'm not good at it, even if I don't like it. Those things, you need those things in life. You learn a little about history and stuff. But once we figure out the thing we're good at, why can't we hone in and focus on that?
Yeah.
And again, it's a whole system to teach you to sit down, shut up, and listen to authority. Yeah. And that's a whole nother podcast, though.
Yeah. Here's the thing I liked about Full Sail University, because I had no clue about filmmaking other than that I wanted to make films. But the general education classes, the first 2-3 months, where you had to get your math in, your science in, they catered to the mathematics and the physics of a soundstage or a set. So it wasn't just like learning calculus or learning trigonometry. It was like learning those in the
practical setting that you're going to work in. Yeah, that's
so
fantastic.
It's like this is how sound travels, and this is how like it the sound from a soundstage deteriorates by the time you get to the last row of the last nosebleed section.
That's really cool.
So you're like, okay, so how do you
So now you're actually having fun trying to solve that equation.
Yes.
Where otherwise,
because it makes sense to me.
Paper. Yes, because yeah, and I love that. That's the way school should be done, honestly.
Yeah.
But again, we digress, right?
Yeah.
So you're straight Fs. You're like, all right, this thing sucks. But you finally get to that point where you're like, cool, I found this niche. I found this thing that I like. Like you said, you jumped into it not really knowing how to make film, but you knew you wanted to make film.
I wanted to make
everything.
film.
So how did you end up getting out of that school with some Fs on your report card and stuff?
It was actually, so I told you this story before. I'll tell it for the audience. I grew up in the New York public school system. And then my junior year of high school, this was around the blizzard of 96. I don't know if anybody remembers the blizzard of 96.
I grew up in Florida. I don't remember any blizzards.
Any of the blizzards that you've seen this past year does not compare to 96. That was a terrible year, but it also, my dad got cerebral palsy, which half of his face was numb, mainly because of the cold. So the cold triggered it. So we had to move to warmer climates, and his side of the family is from SoCal. And junior year, spring break of junior year, we transferred from New York, Queens, Hollis, Queens, New York to Oxnard, California. Oxnard, California is also, by the way, where the best cinematographer for Sinners grew up in.
Oh, did he?
She.
Oh, so we're not Ryan Coogler.
And she's
not the
Filipino.
director.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, the cinematographer. Okay.
The cinematographer. Anyways, so we went to California my spring break of
Junior year.
96. Yeah, 96. And then, where was I going with that? My guidance counselor, because the way the grading systems were different, couldn't understand or couldn't figure out how to translate my grades from New York to how they graded in California. So like all of my Fs in New York became D's and C's in California.
Hallelujah.
And I was like trying to like, I made sure not to say anything
Yep.
so I didn't mess it up because he was like D, C. And by the time he made those transitions for my grades, I had more credit to graduate than,
Then you actually need
than I actually needed. And then I did the same thing I did in New York. I cut class, I skateboarded, I went to Blockbuster Videos, and I ran the video productions at Oxnard High School, 97.
Even when you weren't in the class.
Even when I was in the class. Even when I wasn't in the class, I would run it.
Yeah. Skipping math class to go do video production stuff for the teacher over there.
So if you saw me, who was that? Have you seen that movie, Real Genius?
Long time ago. Val Kilmer, right?
With Val Kilmer. And there's that one guy that lives in the basement, but like occasionally people will spot him. That was me in Oxnard High School. Like I had friends, they knew me.
Do they know you as Stanley or Roy now?
They knew me as Stanley.
Okay,
or
still
Stan.
Stanley.
But I would pop out of like the editing suite every now and then.
He's coming out of his dungeon.
I'll show up to like classes. But like you would be the guys like, does that guy go to school here? So, but I have friends that attest that I do. Yeah. And then by the time senior year started coming, like the Fs were like creeping up on me again.
No.
Right. And there was an actual threat to not graduating on time.
Wow.
And I was at that point where I was like, whatever. Like I don't
care.
I don't care.
I'll drop out and go to...
Yeah, I'll just make movies somehow.
Grab my
Because I don't
camcorder and
really
just film on
need
the
to go to
skateboard.
school. Yeah. I'll just make skate videos. Now, like I was known for two things. I was known for doing the skate videos, and I was doing hardcore punk scenes. So like these punk shows in Southern California, I would do the videos for.
Wow.
I became the video guy. That's the thing. So like I was big into breakdancing, skateboarding, and the punk scene.
That's really cool.
But I didn't advance in any of those because once they put the video camera on my hands, like it showed like the people around me how good I was with them, and I just became the video guy.
Yeah.
In all instances.
That's
like
it.
I was trying to break dance, but put the video camera in my hand, and it's like, oh, this guy can make great breakdancing videos. So became
You're
the
always the
video
guy
guy
behind the camera.
So then I just embraced the moniker, the video guy. So I became the video guy instead of like the skater or the breaker or the whatever. And all that caught up to me. Graduation was being threatened. I went to the recruiting station, the Navy recruiting station, because a friend of mine had asked me to join, like just follow him or not follow him. A friend of mine asked me to
Just accompany him.
Yeah,
Just
go with
company.
me.
Yeah.
Accompany him to it, and so I had no desire to join the Navy. My family has a tradition of being in the Navy, so all my uncles served in one form or another of a military service. Most of them were Navy. I think maybe one or two were in the Army. I could be wrong, but we have a Navy tradition in my family.
So the last name Saringo in the military, essentially,
Especially in the West Coast.
Yeah, was a known name.
Yes. So when I went to the recruiting station, the recruiters knew my uncles. So they connected the last name, and they were like, you know what? Why don't you take the ASVAB with your friend?
Just for fun, right? Yeah. No,
Just for moral support. And so that you're not just like sitting there and waiting. Right?
They got you.
And I ended up getting a higher score on the ASVAB than my friend. And then they were like, they stopped talking to him. They started talking to me and trying to get me into the military. They had a quota. And so I let them entertain me because I was like, what are my options? Like,
F's can get erased somehow here. Talk to me.
yeah, I told them like I'd love to, or not love to, but like I would entertain the thought of joining the Navy.
Right, a little scratch my back, scratch your back situation.
But
here.
I don't know how I'm going to join if I'm not going to graduate on time.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I think there's something we can do about that. And so they actually talked to my guidance counselors, my teachers, and they convinced them to let me do video projects for the classes I was failing.
To pass those classes.
To pass those classes.
Honestly, what a great deal for you, too.
Yeah.
You get more
And
experience
so-
behind the camera.
And so, like, it was just like, I don't know. It was fun, but it was validating that I was really good at
Right.
what I was passionate about, because all those months of not learning what I was supposed to be learning in the classes was like a week worth of video editing, and then I just passed.
That's crazy. You almost felt like the star quarterback at the high school that
Yeah.
could skate by a few classes because he was good at the other thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
That was you with the camera.
So, and it wasn't even like video projects for that class in particular. Like some of them, I remember one teacher was taking night school for like his master's or whatever, and I was doing a project that he was supposed to be working on.
Oh my gosh! So
For
that he
his-
could go do
yeah.
that.
And I did it for him instead, and like just got like a D or C or whatever.
A passing grade. That's all
Passing
you needed.
grade.
It's pass fail.
It
at
was
this
like,
point.
remember Tommy Boy?
Of course, that's one of
My
our.
favorite scenes is when he, in the very beginning, when he's like looking at all the scores, he's like, D. I passed.
I love that. And he's like, "Yeah, I went to 8 years of school. Yeah, those are called doctors." Dude,
Yeah.
literally, when my daughter and I quote that movie so much. Me and my brothers, we grew up on Tommy Boy. It's like
Yeah.
one of my most quoted movies of all time.
Yeah, but now it's funny because like I have friends who have like devoted themselves to being scholars in high school, in college, that are still trying to break into Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And it's like I had a conversation with a friend. I was like, "We're totally opposite. I did everything right,
Yep.
and you did everything wrong, but we're in the same place."
Right. That's the thing. It's like the script is there for a reason to maybe get you there one day, right? You gotta
Yeah.
go off script sometimes to create a new script, which is what you want to do.
Yeah.
So, and we'll get to some of your new future projects and everything too. So, man, so you made it through all that. You've worked on everything from writing to directing to BTS shoots to pretty much anything on set.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I will take the job on set. You've been background characters and stuff, like what,
Yeah.
literally whatever. And then one of the things that I saw, they kind of, I guess it was more of like a local film that you shot, directed, and wrote called Filtered.
Yes.
Yeah, tell me about that one.
So, Filtered, by the time this was like 2019. 2019, I was barely had my foot in the local film community here. Like I knew people because I went to an acting class in 2007, and some of those students have just become SAG actors, and some of them became local filmmakers. But I wasn't very sold on being a part of the local Tampa Bay film community. I was just like, oh, these are just like, no budget filmmakers,
Yeah.
And so I didn't involve myself in the film community. Plus, there was no films being shot here.
I mean, it's getting better, and we'll get to that too. But it's at that time, you had nothing.
Like the only film that I knew that had some rapport with like the outside global world was The Punisher.
Punisher and then Infiltrator, I think was one that was
Infiltrator came later, but like there wasn't any like Hollywood wasn't coming to the door and knocking.
No.
And so I always had the desire to move to LA. And at that time around like 2007, 2011-ish, early teens, LA was booming. LA was just like killing it. Mm-hmm. And so I actually got an apartment in LA that I never moved into.
Oh my gosh.
Because I had a roommate and I was paying my side of the rent. And like for one reason or another, I just couldn't figure out how to move everything I had to that apartment. And so I don't know where that, like what that leads to. But anyways, I just wasn't sold on the Tampa Bay film economy. And I really wanted to go to LA. But I couldn't find my way to LA at that time. And so all my dreams of like trying to make movies were just being shattered.
Dang.
And so by 2019, I was like, I was a independent contractor doing video work for companies, testimonials, CrossFits, churches, whatever. There were
any work you could get.
They were sort of like creative and behind the camera, but they weren't making movies.
Right.
And then
so it helped scratch the itch a little bit, but it wasn't.
It wasn't that. But I wasn't making enough to feel comfortable with, how am I going to pay rent? How am I going to put gas in the tank? It was getting to that point where like, I'm not the best salesman. So like being an independent contractor just wasn't like, the best fit for me, even though it's like, I love being my own boss.
Right.
But I didn't have the motivation to go out and sell myself.
Yeah.
Most of my work became word of mouth because the product spoke for itself. And so people would come to me based off of word of mouth. And I made enough to, not get evicted, and was able to drive places with the gas.
And keep your LA apartment even though you never moved into it.
Yes. and so by 2019, I was like, I think I'm done with this. Like, I'm just like, I need a big boy job. Because in 2000, I don't know, 11 or like 2013, I left corporate America for good. I remember, and this is like a backtracking, I remember I took just a normal corporate job with a cubicle in downtown Tampa doing workers' compensation. And then, like, as the months went by, I was in a cubicle with a window view to a cubicle without a window view to a makeshift cubicle.
Oh, gosh.
To a closet that got transformed into my office.
Oh, my gosh.
And then they stuck me into this closet with 2 female interns from USF that were just chatty. And so, like, I had no window. I was locked in a closet.
Stuck with these 2 chatty people, not doing work.
Not doing work. And I was like, the next day I left, I got up and I was like,
life is more than this. I got to go.
I didn't come back. I was like, I'm done with corporate America.
Good for you.
I was like, that's it. And so that's when I got into independent contracting, bought a camera, started, it started with going to CrossFit. So I bartered CrossFit membership with video and photos.
Brother, I love that. That's one of the things I think creatives like you will find. You'll find a way, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we fall back into those, like you were like, hey, I'm going to go take this cubicle job, which turned into way worse than I ever wanted it to be. And it's there for a reason. It's there to remind you that you are meant to do something different. There's nothing wrong with those jobs.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with people who want to do those jobs because there's something about the clock in, clock out, and I have my weekends, and there's beauty in that. But you were just like, no, this isn't for me. I'm grabbing a camera. And I love that you said that. Like, you're like, I'm just going to go get a camera. Like, it's not even like you were like, hey, I've got 7 cameras already. And from this dream I was trying to live, you're like, no, now I'm going to go do this thing. I'm getting this camera. I don't know where to start, so I'm going to barter. Dude, I'm a big barter system guy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, we've connected on barter system stuff before, too, where it was just kind of like, hey, we need to shoot a short film somewhere.
Yeah.
You need me to shoot something for yours and Tom's new coffee release. Let's work something out here, you know?
Yeah.
And it's so cool to hear. I never knew that story that you kind of like, it was that escape and right away you're in the barter system.
Yeah. And then it also helped that I was in a church that was growing as well. So they needed a lot of video work to be done and just doing some volunteers on the weekend, but also most mega churches, which is also one of the things that I would encourage other people to do that are in the Christian community is if you're an aspiring creative, especially video, a lot of these mega churches or aspiring mega churches always have video content that they want to create. I mean, it may not be paid, it might be on a volunteer, but you get to work on their their equipment and their
for free.
Yeah, for free. And so I did a lot of my sharpening of my axe through editing and video work for a church, but that's also goes back to people seeing your product and going, who did that video? And then I would just get recommended from the pastor of communications, like, oh yeah, Roy did that.
Dude, that's great.
And so that's how I would get like businesses and contacts and nonprofits.
Bro, like you said, sharpening the axe. That was a quote I used when I was opening Elevation. I left a corporate job of 12 years to pursue my dream as well. And it took time to sharpen the axe. It's an Abraham Lincoln quote. He's like, if you give me 20 years to chop down a cherry tree, I'm going to spend the first 19 sharpening the axe. And that's not to say we can over prepare for things too, to the point where you never get anything done. But I love that you just kind of nonchalantly threw that in there. This is me sharpening my axe. And I think that's probably what we see, the instant gratification of the final product these days. Yeah. And everybody thinks they don't need to sharpen their axe anymore. And they don't realize the resilience, the perseverance it took, the peaks and valleys to get to the point where you were able to actually get the paying gig. You know what I mean? And everybody thinks the paying gig should just be out there for them. Yeah. So anyway, that was just more testimony to say what what you went through, man. I think that speaks to the people that are going to be listening, that are like, dang, that's what I want to do. Like, how do I do it? You just answered the question for them. Like, get out there and just freaking film something. Yeah.
And going back to the lowest point in my dream chasing was 2019, where I was like, I just need a big boy, corporate job again. Like I'm
going back to an old girlfriend.
Yes, I'm tired of being lonely. Yep. I'm tired of being alone and dateless. Let me just go back to my ex.
Right.
That's how I felt in 2019. And then two things happened. I had lunch with two close friends of mine from church, and they were very encouraging. It's actually Josiah's parents.
Oh, cool.
So Jamie and Tammy Kent, I remember telling them that I needed to forget about this dream, even for, like, I didn't think it was forever, but like even just for the moment, I just needed to forget about it and find a job that pays my bills, and find a job that lets me, pay for entertainment, have a social life. And I know Tammy, Josiah's mom, was like, wherever God leads you to, like, we support it, but if you're asking me, we don't see you not being a filmmaker. So it's kind of like, take that as you will, but like, I think God's called you for a reason to be a filmmaker. So
like, we've seen your work.
Yeah.
You're called to this thing. You've been given this gift. But if you feel you need to do this,
and I was already interviewed for an executive assistant for like Raymond James or whatever, for Franklin Templeton, some
one of those corporate names.
Yeah. And I was, it was a lot of money, salaried, and I was just about to say yes until I had that conversation with the Kents, and they rattled like just my brain, and I was like, and
they recharged your soul.
Yeah, it was my heart. And I was like, do I want to go back to corporate America? Do I want to go back to that girl that broke my heart? Yep. I was like, I don't.
Yeah, just to have a fun weekend every once in a while.
Yeah, I was like, I don't, but I don't know what is ahead of me. So I was like, this is really taking a leap of faith. Like, seriously, I did not know how else to make money other than scraping by with whatever I had.
Right.
And so I was like, not going to do the corporate work. Thank you. No, thank you. Continued with the independent contracting. Still like barely getting by with paying rent and putting, food in my stomach and gas in my tank. But a friend of mine from church, and this is another backstory, invited me to their son and daughter's stage musical. I did not want to go to
A kid's musical.
A kid's musical.
You're like, oh my gosh.
They're trying to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, it's going to be great. You need to meet the lady who did all the original music for it. I was like, who is this lady?
Do I?
It's like, oh, her name's Katie Combs, and she's from St. Pete, and she did a phenomenal job doing this original stage musical based off of Peter Rabbit. It's called Carrots. I was like, where is it? It's like, oh, it's this small church in Safety Harbor. I was like, in my head, I was like, I don't want to go.
Right.
I really don't want to go. But Andrea, this lady, is very A-type personality. Shout out to Andrea. She was like, I already bought your ticket, so you're going.
I love it. I love it.
I was like,
She pulled the alpha card on you. She's like, I'm the alpha here. You're going.
I was like, oh my goodness.
She knew what was best for you.
Yeah. And then I went there very unenthusiastic because I've been to kids' plays. Anybody who's been to a kids' play knows how cringy it is. You go there because you're just supportive of the kids.
Right, which is great. I love all that stuff. Yes.
But you have to know one of the kids to be supportive.
Right.
Like, I knew their kids, but it wasn't like...
Right,
know,
you weren't Uncle Roy to them or anything.
Yeah, it was just like my friend's kids. Great kids, but still, like, there's no real connection. And then I went to the musical. When the lights went down, the music played, the kids started coming out. Everything was confusing to me. Not confusing in a bad way, confusing as in everything was being executed with excellence.
Wow.
Like, the music was great. The lyrics were great. And the kids didn't have the stage fright you normally would see. And
These are trained.
And none of them were like singing out of key, out of tune.
Your flat earth just became a globe.
Yes. And I was the guy that was like, is that original music? I was like, okay, is that, she wrote this? I was like, okay, just watch. I was like,
ask questions later.
Are you sure she wrote this? I was like, yeah.
This is actually good.
Yeah, just watch. And I'm like, I was so excited to meet this Katie Combs. Met for coffee. Unfortunately, it was Starbucks. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. All good things are met over coffee, though. So.
And we just clicked as far as like wavelengths go. We're in the same wavelength. We were like the two peas in a pod where it's like, why are they still here? Mm. Like friends who knew us, and I'm not trying to be pretentious or anything, but like, people who knew me, people knew her, was like, what are you still doing in a no-name town in Tampa? Mm. Like, with the talent that you have and the skills you have, why aren't you like
right
in a bigger platform? And so, like, we came out of that meeting wanting to work with each other, but I didn't want to work with kids. And she's like, well, I have a stage musical that I did with my high school and college age kids. She runs a nonprofit teaching kids after school. It's not an after school program, but it's like they meet after school once or twice a week to learn the professionalisms of theater.
Oh, cool.
Right? And Katie, just to give her flowers, it comes from this one school of teaching vocal biology. Instead of like teaching you how to sing, teaches you the science of your throat and your neck.
Teaches you its muscle and everything's connected.
And how to
expand your diaphragm.
Yeah, how to produce the sound that you want to have. And that makes so much sense if you ever heard her kids sing. Mm. Anyway, so St. Pete, she was workshopping a stage play. It was about 10 kids in the course of a year and how social media affected their relationships and their psyches. And it was called Filtered. And when I watched it, it is the same thing. I was like, what are you...
Like, this should be at the Straz right now, featured.
I was like, this is freaking amazing. I was like, why is this like
Why is
not
this in a small theater here, like
Yeah.
in Safety Harbor?
And I'm
no
like-
offense to Safety Harbor.
But I'm also paying attention to the story. I'm going, oh, man, this is like kids in bedrooms, living rooms, classrooms. If I were to approach this and as a feature film, I think I could do this all on my own. Because it was basically talking heads. And I'll move the camera, I knew framing, and like as a independent contractor, like I was basically a running gun, do everything.
Yeah, so you've learned every bit of everything.
Yeah, I set the lighting, I set the camera, I do the audio. I was like,
You've done it all.
I think I could do this on my own. And she's like, if you think you could do it, let's do it.
Wow.
And so end of 2019, we started shooting, filtered around September. And we wrapped around December, January. Now, when we did it not knowing anything standard to film or filmmaking. Like we use Excel spreadsheets for, everything. We're calling
You're bare bones in this thing. You had no idea.
yeah. Like we were just doing it messy, but we were doing it.
I love that. You can't wait for it to be perfect. You just got to do it sometimes.
Yeah, and the reason why it worked better with me as the only crew member was we weren't paying anybody. So like all the kids had to do it after school
Right.
on their like in between their schedules of where else they had to be. So I had to be available at a
You knew you had this window.
yeah. And so it was easier for me to just pack my car, my gears in my car anyway, and just drive instead of me having to go find a sound guy and be like, hey, can you meet me over here? We didn't plan for it, but like a window opened up this
Right.
afternoon. And so that actually helped. But by the time we shot and I put like the first assembly of the cut, there's obviously things that are missing for the story and things that we didn't get. And then the lockdown happened. And so
COVID shut down.
we couldn't go back to the high school that we shot at to do pickups. We couldn't go to a recording studio and re-record other things like ADR.
Yeah, you couldn't leave your house.
Couldn't leave the house. So we had to figure out how to
Wait,
do
you
it.
don't have hundreds of $1,000s worth of equipment in your house you can do this with?
No. And I didn't know anything about post-production.
Yeah, you're learning on the fly.
So
I love
when
it.
we did a Kickstarter, we got $5,000. That was supposed to go to the post-production for the audio because I'm not going to record an ensemble sing, our musical numbers off of whatever we had in the house. That one had to be at a studio.
Right.
Luckily, we did that before the lockdown, but like the ADR part, I didn't know how to do an ADR. I looked it up at YouTube and go, how do I do this at home?
Dude, that's amazing. I had no idea. Like, I've seen it, and I'm just like, this thing is so professionally done, and I had no idea you didn't know how to do it.
Yeah, and you would never know I was the only one that, like, on the crew.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Literally. Like, the only thing I knew that wasn't going to be good was the audio because I wasn't monitoring the audio. At least I could monitor their performance and the lighting and the camera movements and the blockings and the shots. But I knew I wasn't monitoring the audio, so I didn't know what I was going to get. The plan was to do ADR professionally. That went out the window.
Yeah.
So then I was YouTubing, how do I ADR, jerry rig this thing in Katie's house or whatever. So we did that. You would never know. You would never know this was all like garage filmmaking.
That's amazing.
And then we got into Sunscreen Film Festival and won Best Director.
That's crazy.
2021.
Congrats, man. That's huge.
But it also we got distribution for it.
It's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon. It's on Tubi. That's a different story for a different time.
Yeah. We'll get to that on another one.
Yeah. Part 2.
Part 2, yeah. So, since I know producer here is going to be leaving soon, let's try to like move these things a little faster here. Let's talk about. We've already talked a lot of the background and everything too. You've got a few projects that you have spoken to me about that I think sound honestly amazing. There's two of them in particular. One of them, and we can talk about which one you want to talk about first. Class of '97 or is it Carinosa? Carinosa.
Let's talk about Class of '97 first.
That's the one I'm most excited about. So,
yeah, Class of '97 is a story about a young daughter who discovers her dad's vintage '90s camcorder that still sees the world of 1997 through its lens. So it's set on modern day times. Does that make sense?
yes, so it's filmed modern day times. If you shoot 2027, it's 2027, but it looks at 1997 through the lens.
So it's not a time portal. Well, it's sort of a time portal. It's not a time travel portal.
Right.
So it's not a time travel story. It just allows me, if I were
To put it in 97's perspective.
looking through this and the lens showed me what this place was in 1997,
Right.
could be a
a
different
roller
factory.
skating rink or something.
Yeah, that's the idea. And she uses it to help recapture the memories that her dad lost, who's struggling and fighting through early onset dementia. So anybody who graduated class of 97 like me would be middle-aged 40s. And so it's very personal to
Yeah.
me. The other thing, because it was class of 97 and I graduated class of 97, the second component about the early onset dementia was because of my mom, who survived COVID by this miraculously, let's just say, survived COVID. During her rehab, she was so medicated that it was affecting her memory. She had temporary dementia. It didn't stick.
Thank God.
She got her memory back when she weaned off the medication. But while she was on the medication, we would visit her. It was, I don't know how to describe, what's the word for when your heart sinks? Whatever that word is,
Okay.
my heart sank every time I was with my mom and she couldn't recognize me.
Yeah.
There's something about the eyes when you know that they don't know who you are.
Right.
That's like,
And you're like, my mom should never not know who I am.
yeah. And it was just so heartbreaking.
How do I give her a vision? So that was part of why you wanted to make this movie.
That was part of the reason why I wanted to tell that story, but also YouTube was feeding me 90s high school videos for some reason. I was just like, I was just at that point where it's like,
It knows your brain. That's by this point. That's why.
yeah, the nostalgia was there. And then the desire for somebody to remember came next to it. And I was like, I think there's a story here.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote a first draft and I pitched it to a friend that's a Hollywood producer. Said friend never liked any of the pitches growing up. Like, we grew up together.
Uh-huh.
Never didn't, this is like double negatives, but never not liked anything I pitched
Uh-huh.
as far as story-wise.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So you never hated them.
Never hated them.
You never hated them.
But never loved them to the
Right.
point where it's like,
He's always
tell
like,
me
these
more.
are good,
Yeah.
but it's for somebody else.
Yeah. Or, it was all right.
Yeah.
It was all right. But Class of 97 was the first one where it's like, I want to see more of that. Like, I want to know more of that story. That's the one you should write. So I wrote it in like a month. And then that one, like, it's on its like 12th or 13th or 14th draft.
You've done a table read too.
Done two table reads
table
on
reads.
it. But that one had, like, from the get-go had buzz. Mainly because nostalgia's big now.
Yeah.
A lot of the Hollywood players and not gatekeepers too, but the decision makers in Hollywood and in general are Gen X, Zennials, Millennials. And right now there's a big nostalgia hit for the 90s.
Major.
Pre-social media,
Yes.
everybody's wanting to go back to that life. And
kids that are being born now are seeing it in the nostalgic stuff and they've been like, they've romanticized those times. My daughter's one, she goes, Dad, I wish I grew up in the 80s and 90s, you know?
yeah.
And I'm just like, well, that's good. You're growing up now, but you're right. Honestly, those are magical times. We'll never have those back again. It's the last generation before social media.
Yes.
So, and when you first were telling me about this movie, I was the same thing. Like, I was just like, oh my gosh, dude, you have to make this. Like, this is one of those, like, this is a Rob Reiner film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is a Steven Spielberg film. This is a, you know, this is that E.T., that Stand By Me, that...
it's one of those, it's those movies that has magical realism that they don't explain the magic to you.
Yes, and that's what I think. It's obviously fiction, but it's grounded in reality. Yeah. And I don't need the explanation for it.
Yeah.
It draws me in, and I don't want the explanation. Yeah. It's why we went to movies growing up. You wanted to suspend your disbelief, and you wanted to take a break from reality while still being in a setting of reality.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this is.
Yeah.
And not sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Just not that like nostalgia from 97, like for the 90s is a thing. A lot of dementia's at an all-time high right now too.
It is.
A lot of us are going through an uncle or a grandparent or even a parent that's struggling with Alzheimer's or dementia. And this tugs at the heartstrings of life in general.
Yeah, it's funny because like a lot of people that read it get emotional, and I didn't approach it to get the feels out of people. I mean, I did to a certain extent, but I didn't know that like grown men would be crying at a coffee shop over like a scene that I wrote, or like women who've read it 2 or 3 times still cry at the end even though they've read it a couple of times already.
Yep.
I'm like, that's just a testament to the reality of where we are with dementia, Alzheimer's, and nostalgia, and just wanting to go back to not the way things were more, but like just the joys of not having the pressure to be seen all the time or to be heard all the time or to hear people's opinions all the time.
Right. It was a time when you knew that the cameras weren't out and you could be yourself because you were scared someone's going to catch your face in a weird position or you messing up a dance,
Yeah.
And we were uninhibited. We could go and dance on the dance floor without... And your cousin might make fun of you, but you just punch them, right? Like, but now if somebody catches you on camera, they want to go viral over you looking stupid on the dance floor. The dance floor's there for us to look stupid on. Yeah. It's for me to let loose. Leave me alone.
Yes.
And 97 was the time you could do that.
It definitely, because technology and smartphones and social medias, they're great tools.
Correct.
But they also got weaponized.
Yes.
And that's when people were just like, okay, this is too much.
Right. And myself, I shied away from it for the longest time because I'm just like, what's the point? And I've actually grown into where I need to use it and stuff too. But even now, like, if I go to a wedding, I don't dance. My wife jokes about that. She goes, "You don't dance." Like, I'll slow dance with her for a dance, or something. But other than that, like, everybody's phone comes out. They see you even if you're good at it. I don't want to be seen being good. I just want to be in the moment.
Yeah.
Let me just be in the moment. Like, I don't need a camera on this, Yeah. But I'm also guilty of that too because I have a kid and I film her because I want to see that one day when she's, older and moved away or whatever she's doing, Like, I want to go back and remember her dancing at a wedding. So I get it. I'm kind of hypocritical in that way,
But how many times have you rewatched videos of fireworks that you shot?
Never. My gosh. Nobody watches the other person's video of fireworks.
Yeah. Stuff I love about the 90s. TGIF.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
But the 90s, let's just talk about the 90s.
Yeah,
the 90s are great. The 90s
Sorry,
was the last...
I know you didn't live in the 90s.
The 90s was the last time where you had to wait for things and you had to do things together. So I remember the great thing about TGIF is before streaming services where you can rewind, and even before DVRs, people would have to wait till Thursday, Friday night to watch their favorite sitcoms. And if you missed it, you missed it.
Or you set the VHS to record and hope you didn't record over your sister's recital.
Yes. I've done maybe something like that. But if you didn't catch it the first time and it was a topic that was a hot topic for the next day in school.
Yeah, you were
a
out
Monday.
of the loop.
You were just, nobody, I don't know what I
Dude,
was saying.
that basically went away after Lost. Because we started getting social media, but Lost, I think, and I talked with Dana Roebuck about that. Lost was the last water cooler show. That was when you went to work and you were like, did you see last night's episode? You know, that was like, you were home Wednesday nights or whatever night it came on to watch that show. You had people coming over to watch it together.
I would argue with you.
Okay, there's another one.
I think Walking Dead was the last one.
Okay.
Because I remember doing that with Walking Dead.
Okay.
Up to a certain point.
Gotcha.
Up to when Glenn died. And then I stopped. I think half of the viewership just left. Me included.
There's like 19 seasons now and spin-offs.
I didn't even know it was kept going.
Yeah, I can't keep up. It was never my thing either. Like,
yeah, Lost was the first show that I binged.
Yeah, and Lost had all the. I didn't. I was every week watching it. Like, it was one
same
of those
here.
things. Like, we talked about it the next day. We were on the forum trying to figure out what some numbers were. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Or what the tree moved in the background different than it did last week. Does that mean something? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
gosh,
Lost was the one. Lost was the first show, I believe, to have a theatrical experience.
Yeah.
Especially towards the end when it was coming, like it was winding down.
Mm-hmm.
People would play it in their theaters.
That's cool.
And have like viewing parties for it.
Oh, we had a viewing party for the finale.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, see.
Same here.
And we probably there's a few shows now that have gotten like I see them coming back to the procedurals, the weeklies. You know, like Silo is a good one that's kind of lost-ish. Paradise is another one that I am like.
Oh, I love Paradise.
Big on Paradise. That's one that my wife and I we love it, and it's only like one episode. They're only on 8 episodes per season, and next season's it's the last season, which is good. They're tying it up. But it's like I want more people to talk about it.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, what we lost. I guess this is neither a good thing or a bad thing, but there was the king of the remote back in in the 90s, or like who held the remote at home was like king or queen.
Yes,
and it's usually me, because like we didn't have a room, we didn't have a TV in every room, and we didn't have like streaming services where you could choose what you watched.
Correct.
Whenever, so it was basically cable or network television live.
And you had to choose one episode, one show.
And you usually had one, maybe 2 TVs, but one in the living room that everybody had to watch.
Yep.
And
if
so it was
something
just
else is playing at the same time,
you
got to pick or choose.
Yeah.
Which is why we were late to The Office, because I think The Office played this similar time as Lost when it was on at one point.
Was it? Yeah.
So we didn't catch up on The Office until like Netflix had DVDs that you could get through the mail.
Yeah, that's actually how I started watching The Office, is through the Netflix DVDs.
Yep. And then that's when we're like, okay, cool, Lost is over. We have our new Wednesday night or whatever night it was on show.
Yeah.
Boom, we're watching that,
The other thing about the 90s, and I recently heard this, especially with music, nowadays people are making music for TikTok. So like if
not for the album.
Yeah, so people are making music to break through the algorithms of Spotify or Apple Music or whatever have you, because the attention span for music is, a few seconds, if that. So like you need something to grab their attention and break through the algorithm so people would listen. Back in the 90s, you didn't have the algorithm, so you had more experimental like music. Like you can have, Guns N' Roses had a 2-3 minute intro of just Slash playing the guitar. November Rain the lyrics didn't even start for like 10 minutes into it.
Yeah,
and
like,
then
and you had music videos though that accompanied it, so there was always some other form. Nowadays, the music video isn't quite a thing, and like, Kyle, our producer over here, would attest to that because he loves shooting music videos. It's like, where did he miss the MTV era? You know what I mean? When you're like, oh my gosh, so and so's got a new video dropping this week, I have to watch it. And it was the same thing. There would be some intro because it was almost shot like a movie or like a short film. And those things they're very rare now. If it does come on, it's just on YouTube only or something.
Yeah, and then the what was it? Ben Affleck and Matt Damon were on the Joe Rogan podcast not too long ago talking about how even Netflix has their own algorithm. Like they specifically were told that they had to say an exposition where they were in the story because people don't watch with their full attention anymore. People are on their phones. So like if somebody snoozes off and comes back and they're lost, then, they won't watch till the end.
Yeah.
So they constantly, every so often, have to explain where they are in the story and what happened. And that changes the way you write stories.
Yep.
Now you're writing for algorithm. Now and so like it
That
takes
makes
away.
sense. I didn't know that. My daughter, she loves to write. That's her thing. She writes, she animates, and we watched something. She was like, "Why are they doing exposition?" And she literally will say that sometimes because she's paying attention.
Yeah.
She's like, "Why are they doing this?" And I never knew that was why. It's for the algorithm. I had no idea.
It's so people know what the story is about if they go on their phone.
Which they do. I do.
Yeah, that's actually how I gauge like how good a movie or a TV show is good if I don't look at my phone. Paradise is like that. I don't hardly look at my phone.
It's over on the side. I can't. I got to pay attention because Dan Fogelman is intentional with everything in that show.
Yeah. Project Hail Mary, I didn't look at my phone one time, which if you haven't seen, Project Hail Mary, fantastic movie.
Yeah, I got to see it.
Yeah. So, what's your next question?
Cool. Let's move on to Carinosa.
Carinosa. Carinosa is a Filipino rom-com. It started because I have this thing where I understand the film industry and the business model. The end product is always selling. You have to sell this movie. Not a lot of people make movies just to make movies and don't care about the money it makes in return.
Not anymore now.
So people are always trying to, like, the end goal is always distribution. Mm-hmm. And there's so many caveats and so many things that go into what gets picked up and how it makes money. Because right now, the end goal is always making money for the investors who invested the film.
If this costs $5 million, can we make $20 million on it? If not, we're not doing it.
Yeah. And so a lot of the caveats are who's in it.
Yeah.
Right.
You need a Gosling. You need a.
So even if I were to write a movie that was, I think, what's a good example? Ben Whishaw. He was in
the not Casino Royale, the James Bond movies. Yeah.
He was the new
New Q.
Q. He was the new Q. He was also in the new Mary Poppins Returns movie or whatever. Mm-hmm. He's done some indies. I think he's a phenomenal actor, but he doesn't sell.
Right.
So if I wanted him to be in the movie, I can get vetoed and be like, you need to put somebody we can put on the poster and sell this movie.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, so a lot of filmmakers, screenplay writers, screenwriters are forced to do what the market wants.
Right.
Yeah, what the
so
market
we're losing
needs.
in this. That's why we see in the movie theaters, it's only the same few faces over and over again in movie theaters.
Yeah.
And those same faces now have been encroaching on TV because TV's gotten bigger than movies.
Yeah.
And it's about selling that
and
person.
It's also,
and you're losing representation in this.
Yeah. So I get it in a sense where, like, it makes sense. I'm not arguing against it because, like, I do the same thing. If I recognize a face on a thumbnail in Netflix, I'm more prone to check it out.
We all have people that if they're in the movie, I'm going to watch it no matter what, even if it's bad.
The Rock is one example. If it's a bad movie, I'll still watch it because, I love The Rock. Right. I'm a big wrestling fan. But I never wanted to operate that way, and I was always rebellious about doing that, even though I know that's just how it is.
That's just how it is. Yeah.
I do want to make money. I do want the investors to get their money back and then some.
But you also have a story to tell. That's why you got into this. You're writing from your heart.
And it wasn't like, I love filmmakers like Sean Baker, who did the Florida Project and then Anora, because he bucks the system and he doesn't cast like well-known actors, but he makes bank and then he wins awards, right? Doing his own thing. So he's outside of the studio system doing that. Well, a friend of mine was like, well, you just need to write Hallmark movies. I was like, I don't want to watch Hallmark.
My wife would love that.
I was like, I don't even watch Hallmark. It's like, it's not like, good for the people that work in that atmosphere. But like,
Oh yeah, I mean, once someone gets big, like my wife watches this show called Wing Calls to Heart, and they're on like season 12. It's the same actors, like
Yeah.
they're making bank on this thing. This
Yes.
show, and it's like not big budget,
Yeah.
It's like easy production. It seems
yeah,
like
I was like, I was not called into the film industry
Right.
to make Hallmark movies,
right.
but I knew there was money in it. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, but if I was to make a Hallmark movie, what kind of Hallmark movie would I like to watch? And so I wrote a story about the Filipino-American experience.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a little backstory with Filipino-Americans. We are probably the only immigrants from Asia that didn't carry on the language. A lot of Asians, Chinese, Japanese, Koreans, when they come here, they pass on the language and the culture to
Absolutely.
the next generation. Filipinos our parents' generation wanted their kids to assimilate and not be different. Not knowing that different is what we are.
Right.
Right?
I understand that from a safety reason, they probably wanted you to fit in a little.
They
more.
want us to be American. Mm-hmm. But that didn't really pan well because we're Filipinos.
Right.
And so Filipino-Americans became a thing of its own culture. Like it became its own
It created
culture.
its own subculture.
Yeah. To where we're not Filipinos because we don't have the culture and we don't have the language, but we're not Americans because we're Asians.
Right.
Right? And so we have this subculture where, we're so far removed from what makes a Filipino that, it needs course correction.
Gotcha.
And so I wrote a story about the young girl in every Hallmark movie that, is a determined, driven, big city girl
Yeah.
that just so happens to be Filipino American, works for a magazine company, tasked to do a magazine spread, an article about her culture that she knows nothing about, right? In order to get a promotion.
I love it. So she's going to learn about her culture along
She's
the
going
way.
to go along, learn, and it's
So it has more than just the depth of I'm going to find this guy and
Yeah.
either have him assimilate to me or we go. It has the depth of like learning her own background and culture.
yeah.
and
So
stuff.
she has to go back
That's
to
not a Hallmark movie. That's an actually well-written movie.
Yeah.
But it has a Hallmark good feel.
It has the
Hallmark
template
movie.
of a Hallmark movie.
Yes, which is good feel, which people want in today's world right
Yeah.
now.
So I mean, there's no profanity. There's no sexually explicit scenes.
Right.
It's just a PG
My wife would watch this.
romancing. But I learned also that a lot of immigrants share the same story where you're not one fully and you're not the other fully.
Yeah.
So it's not just a Filipino-American story, it's an immigrant story.
Right.
Right? And I didn't want to do another immigrant story where it's just like the suffering and the heartache of assimilating, and the struggles that we face.
Mm-hmm.
But this is kind of that in a different approach that's more...
Right, because one of them can almost be just focusing on the negative so much. This one seems like, from what you've told me
Yes,
before, it
it's-
has an actual like.
Yeah, so this
positive
is
outlook to
learning
it, yes.
learning the culture, and from the Filipino Americans that read it, that one has equal buzz with Class of
That's
'97.
Nice.
And so that's in development as well.
Love it, man.
Yeah.
We're going to start wrapping this up, so we're going to throw some quick questions at you so Kyle can get out of here. I know that. What's your go-to coffee order when you go in a shop?
Just black coffee.
Love it. What's the most memorable cup of coffee you've ever had?
Memorable cup of coffee was, what's the one that you guys had in Lando Lakes? It was like some fruity
The
stuff.
red fruits one?
Red fruits one.
Yeah.
I know Esteban gave me a sample, and I was just like, I wasn't prepared. Like, he didn't tell me what it was. He just gave me a glass and was like, try this. And I was like, oh my goodness, what is it?
It tastes like candy, and it's coffee.
Yeah,
It's black coffee.
it was really good.
Yeah,
So
fantastic.
that was my most memorable.
Who's your favorite director?
Spielberg.
Spielberg. They make a movie about S. Roy Saringo. Who plays you?
Probably
Ryan Gosling got you. Okay. No, I'm just kidding.
No, not Ryan.
I'm totally joking.
Me? I don't know. I don't know if there is. The guy who played Ryu in the first Street Fighter.
Oh my goodness.
with
Okay,
Van
we'll
Damme.
take it.
I don't know.
Somebody that looks Filipino, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what you're saying. What's your go-to karaoke song?
Sweet Caroline.
Oh, ugh. I'm just kidding. And then you could have a cup of coffee with one person, dead or alive. Conversation over the coffee. Who is it?
C.S. Lewis.
C.S. Lewis. That's my second C.S. Lewis answer from people.
With a cup of coffee and then a pint of beer.
Nice. That's the way he did it. And then close it out with your final advice to the person that's listening to this, that aspires to be a filmmaker, a writer, editor, whatever it is. They have that passion. They just listen to your story. It takes years. It takes sharpening that axe. What advice would you give them outside of what we've already told them?
This is not a good answer. Because I might get like
Some backlash from it.
backlash from it. That's a good word. But burn your bridges. Burn your bridges. It's not fun. But what's the alternative? I mean, like, you only have one life. I couldn't imagine myself not doing film. And I've gotten to that point where, like, I was 1 foot out the door.
Yep.
But just the passion of it, like...
But that bridge still existed that you knew was safe, that you could step on. Burn that bridge.
Yeah, just burn that bridge. I burned that bridge a while back. And it's still a struggle. It's still an uphill climb.
You still
That's
think
what
you
you
can make the
signed
leap
up
back
for.
sometimes, right? But
That's
why
what you
make the
signed
leap
up for.
Forward. That's what you signed up for, exactly.
Yeah.
Burn the bridge because you're only looking forward.
Yeah, and you can't go back. Like, I just don't want to go back. Every time I watch a movie, good movie or bad movie, if I watch a bad movie, it always inspires me to make something better. If I watch a good movie, it inspires me to attain that
Yes,
like
you're
level
always
of
looking for the
excellence.
positive in these things.
But I
moving
can't
forward.
be in a movie theater and not have feels.
Yes, you want to feel one way or the other, not just
Yeah,
blah.
but like being like something about being in a movie theater, like the lights are out, the movie's shining on the silver screen, and like it just like tugs on my, it just draws
Yeah.
me in. I just like
It's a different feeling
Yeah.
there. Yeah, it's the same exact thing, watching it on your home or your phone, but it's different there.
yeah, I'm sure it's the same when, you know, an aspiring football player watches like at the Super Bowl or like any football game or any athlete at an athletic event watching somebody else going, this is life. That's me in the movies.
That's you in the movies. I love
That's
that.
why I can watch like by myself or with a
Yeah,
crew.
because you're going for the experience, not just to hang
Yeah.
out with people or you're like, I'm actually there to separate myself from the world right now, and I'm in this thing,
Yeah,
whether it's good or bad.
and I'm in here for Disclosure Day.
For disclosure, oh, me too. I can't
Just-
wait for
I'm
it.
like,
Spielberg, baby.
Spielberg.
Let's go. Awesome. And where can people find you if they're looking for you? I know you're private, but
They can't find me.
there you go. Just look up on IMDb when these movies come up.
Here's the thing. If you find me on Instagram, it's Roy Saringo. Easy. You can find me now on Facebook. It's Stan Roy Saringo. Just find me. And,
Just find
and
him.
like and
If you're looking for them, you'll find them.
and I'll accept your friendship if
and
I feel
your work
like it.
if you have it.
Yeah, if I feel like it.
If he feels like it.
It
So-
sounds pretentious, but
And if
like
you have money to help get these movies made, call your man.
my email is
We can put it in the show notes if you need. Roy, it's a pleasure, brother.
Thank
I could
you.
have talked to you for hours, man.
yeah.